Nyarunak. Very good morning to you all. The Governor of the Reserve Bank of Fiji, senior partner with KPMG, Mr. Manlevu, colleagues from the private sector, as well as representatives for commercial banks, as well as Development Bank, executives from the Housing Authority, as well as Public Rental Board, partners and stakeholders of Ministry of Housing, government officials, private sector representatives, civil society organizations, as well as community representatives. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning again. Very warm morning to you all. Also acknowledge the presence of the special administrators, the municipalities in our country, as well as acting CEO from all the municipalities. Thank you for your presence here this morning. It is both an honor and a privilege to join you this morning to officially open the Housing Sector Forum, an important platform that brings together key voices and stakeholders to shape the future of housing. In fact, this forum emanated from a discussion that I've had with some stakeholders that were present at the Pacific Island Chief Executives Forum that was held in Denarau. And I promise, because there were some discussions that were brought to my attention, as well as very fruitful discussions, and I told those who were present, I think it's about time that we have a forum so that we can bring together ideas, bring together great minds to try and address the situation that we are, housing situation that we are in right now. I think it's very important that we must acknowledge that there is a crisis right now in Fiji, housing crisis, and we must come together as a country, as stakeholders, and as agencies to try to come up with strategies on how best we can together address this issue of housing in the country. This year's theme, Transforming Housing for All, Collaborative, Innovative and Sustainable Solutions for Accessibility, Affordability and Addressing Informal Settlement Challenges, could not be more timely or relevant. This forum is not just for gathering information. It is a transformative initiative. It reflects our shared determination to uplift the lives of thousands of Fijians living in informal settlements and those struggling to access secure, affordable housing. It represents our collective recognition that the right to adequate shelter is not a luxury, but a basic human right. Yesterday, there was an investor from Hong Kong that paid a courtesy visit to my office and asked him this question: how did your government address housing problem? And I shared with him the problem that we have in the country. We have a lot of informal settlements. And he shared me something that I believe is very important, and it's something that we're also trying to address right now. The problem of accessibility as well as affordability. Understand why people, why they go and squatter or living in land that they don't own is because we don't have enough housing stock in the country. Or we don't have affordable housing stock in the country. It's something that we need to address together as a nation. Our government's unwavering commitment to Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, is the foundation of this forum. We're determined to ensure that our development efforts do not come at the cost of our environment, but instead complement and sustain it. The 2025 to 2029 Government National Development Plan outlines our collective ambition, built on past achievements, but focused on the future. This plan sets out strategic policies aimed at enhancing the well-being of every Fijian by expanding affordable housing, promoting sustainable urban planning, strengthening infrastructure, and improving access to essential services. It also outlines innovative financial support for low and middle income families, giving them a fairer chance of at-home ownership and rental opportunities. I'm very thankful that we have the governor who has assisted, especially low-income earners around the country, and the representative, acting CEO from Housing Authority will also concur with me in recognizing the efforts that the Reserve Bank of Fiji has played, especially in the provision of affordable provision of good financing solutions to those that actually need assistance. These are the people that are earning, the people with low income, in the low income brackets. Upgrading informal settlements remain a constant priority for this government. Why? Because every Fijian, no matter their background, deserves access to secure land tenure, basic services, and the chance to build a better future. Ladies and gentlemen, as we meet today, we face complex housing challenges. Rapid urbanization, rising land and construction costs, limited access to finance, and the persistence of informal settlements across urban and peri-urban centers and other competing priorities. One of the challenges that I faced, that the ministry is facing right now, is the informal settlements. We have a lot of informal settlements around the country. And the question that we ask, why? Why do we not really condone? Why? What can we do so that we can address this issue? It's a very serious issue. I was working one day, I took time out to try and visit those that are living in the Vindong settlement in Botswana. They're living in very deplorable, very not really good or humane conditions. So as stakeholders, as government officials, as government representatives, we need to come up with, I'm using the word, innovative ways, better ways of addressing the situation that we have on the ground. Because I don't think the conventional ways are working. It's about time that we think outside our normal ways of thinking, outside the box, and try and come up with strategies. How best can we reduce our development costs in the country? How best can we reduce construction costs in the country? And how best can we reduce, or can we ensure that financial institutions provide financial packages, financial solutions that people can afford, or that can help people in acquiring house or acquiring land. The government through the Ministry of Housing has made significant strides in upgrading informal settlements, expanding access to home ownership, grants, and piloting innovative housing models. Last week, we also we witnessed a groundbreaking ceremony of one settlement in Valley Wanguea, which has about 60 residents. So hopefully in the next, within 2 years, be able to complete the upgrading of the settlement, as well as also be in the process issuing leases to some settlements that we have already completed the upgrades. These are in Duvu, about 100 households, 17 Nalumisa, Nandi, as well as Wandamdam here in Cornevia, about 270 families. And also currently there are also 4 informal settlements that the ministry is currently upgrading. These are Tavele and Nandi, Sequoia and Nasiru, Torre and Field 4 in Lotok. Ladies and gentlemen, this housing sector forum today marks a significant milestone where all stakeholders seated here from the private and public sector will work collaboratively towards finding game-changing solutions that will provide Fijians access to affordable housing that they can call their own. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that real transformation requires more than government action alone. It requires partnership, it requires innovation, and it requires bold thinking and coordinated implementation. That is why this forum matters. Today I would like to urge you to work with us in government to identify practical, scalable, and inclusive strategies, whether through policy reforms, innovative financing models, public-private partnerships, or community-driven solutions. Let us challenge outdated systems, bridge gaps between policy implementation, and amplify the voices of those most affected by housing insecurity. About more than a month ago, I was in Thailand, and we had a field trip. We went and visited, it's like a social housing development on the outskirts of Bangkok. And so I was so amazed by the setup of that housing estate, just like one of the housing estates here in Rewai or in Rewanga. And I asked those that were, the party that were turning around, how did they come up with this housing setup? They said it was a community-driven approach. So the community were included from even the drawing, the designing of the setup. And now when community were involved, and when it comes the time for you to ask them to move on to those units, they'll support the initiative because they know they're part of that part of the process. It's something that I think that we need to do now going forward. We need to include our people so that they are part of us when addressing and coming up with some of the strategies that we're trying to have. Let us create housing that is not only affordable and accessible, but also climate resilient, culturally appropriate, and future ready. As a minister responsible, I urge all participants here today to approach this forum not as a one-time event, but as a call for action, a platform for deep collaboration across government agencies, the private sector, non-government organizations, development partners, and communities. Together, we have the expertise, the passion, and the responsibility to transform housing for all. With these few words, I now declare Housing Sector Forum officially open. Thank you very much.